I'm in Georgia on the road to recovery, and I want to introduce you to someone who I've recently met, but someone who, once you meet him, you feel like you've known him for a long time. One of the greats in the NFL, Steve Herndon. An incredible story, but more importantly, a dedicated life now to helping other people find their path to recovery.
So hey family, my name's Steve Herndon. I'm a drug addict, alcoholic. Been seeking validation ever since I was a scared 5-year-old little boy who never had a biological father. I was looking to fill that hole in my soul, as I tell in my story. And football was my first drug. I learned that if I hit people hard enough, that the coaches would give me a attaboy, a pat on the butt, and I seek that validation. And then eventually I would go on to play at the University of Georgia, and finally found that validation off the field, and it was in the form of alcohol. And then that would eventually lead into drugs. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I never knew my biological father, but I had heard that he was an alcoholic and I would never be like him. I justified it and validated it by the fact that I was a team captain. I was the Leon Farmer Strength and Conditioning Award winner, which they give to the player who dedicates the most to the program every year. And so I had a lot of things going on, and I said, well, you know, the justification's there. I mean, I had a motto, hoot with the Owls, soar with the Eagles.
Turn it up!
I had the opportunity to go on and play in the National Football League. Played 6 years in the league. I played 4 years with the Denver Broncos and then 2 years with the Atlanta Falcons. During that time, which I was doing a lot of drugs, there was really nothing off the table. But mostly I was eating pain pills just to be able to perform. My body was just beat down. And in '05, when my career ended, I had about 1,000 Lortabs just sitting at the house. And I had a buddy in the music industry, and he said, hey, you always said when you got done playing, you know, you'd hit the road with me, and that's precisely what I did. And over the course of the next year, we just about killed each other. As you can imagine, you know, the depth that my addiction took me, we actually shot a Girls Gone Wild DVD. And I remember vividly when Joe Francis flew us out to Vegas. They had this big party, and Joe handed us a key to a $60,000 a night room suite. It was the Playboy Suite at the Palms, and I was sitting there with my buddy in the music industry at 5 in the morning, and we were just absolutely miserable. And that's when I knew that we were in trouble. And not that I didn't already know we were in trouble, but that's when it really sunk in, like, wow, it doesn't get any better than this. And I was at the bottom of the pit. October 14th, 2006, I entered treatment at Ridgeview Institute. I spent close to 90 days at Ridgeview. That was before insurance would only do about 30 days. And then I had a marriage that I was trying to rebuild. My college sweetheart, and I had just taken her through the ringer. And she said, you know, you need to get home and fix this marriage. And I said, no, you know, I've been doing it my way my whole life, and I'm going to do it somebody else's way. And they recommended sober living. For me, it was about working the 12 steps and having a God of my understanding that I could really relate to. But therapy is such a huge component for my story. My therapist really taught me, you know, who I was and why I do the things that I do, other than the fact that I'm just crazy as hell. But I needed to know what were some of those deep-rooted issues. I didn't know that, you know, I was abused as a child. I mean, I just thought my dad did the best that he could, and that, you know, my therapist really helped me understand what that was all about and what trauma is all about. That there's a reason why we alcoholics and drug addicts drank and drugged the way we did. I know for me, it was because I liked the way it made me feel. Mostly because all the insecurities I had as a young man, that scared 5-year-old little boy, all of that stuff went away when I drank and drugged. When I found the God of my understanding, and I started to fill that void and that hole in my soul, my life changed in ways I never dreamed possible. The last thing I told my wife before I went off to treatment was, when I find you, I'm going to kill you. And I'm happy to say that today we have 3 beautiful children. I'm a certified addiction counselor, level 2. I'm also a clinical supervisor. I own and operate a sober living community in Atlanta, Georgia. But I just get to be, not only the daily amends of pulling in my driveway and loving on my wife and loving on my 3 children, but just to be able to go to, I don't even call it work, to just get up every day and go be of service. I never dreamed that, that hole that 5-year-old little boy was trying to fill would fill it the way that he does today.
Thanks so much for joining me on the road to recovery from LaGrange, Georgia. So glad I was able to share Steve Herndon's story with you. A lot of people remember him from his years with the Broncos and the Falcons, his NFL and his AFL life. But you know what? A lot of people don't know the dedicated life he has now, where he's helping other people find recovery from addiction. So glad to have this opportunity and these opportunities to travel the country on the road to recovery and share amazing stories with you. We'll see you on the next episode. I'm Michael De Leon.